It's nice seeing you. Today is one of those days that there is a lot going on with the economy and the stock market, which is why I'm coming to you from a different location here, because we have a lot to get to when it comes to working with not only the changes of the economy, but how that relates to your specifics with respect to your portfolio and the ways forward for 2024. So we have a lot to get to, and I want to get started with the very first one, which is economic and stock market risks. We have a lot that is going on with respect to shipping, and this could have some really huge implications with respect to all of the different dynamics of inflation and pricing of many of our goods. So what has been going on here is that the Red Sea has been having some huge issues with attacks on ships, especially container ships that are $100-200 million worth of goods. Now, what this is really doing is causing a lot of issues around the world with respect to shipping. So it used to just be, oil tankers that were being attacked, but now with the increase of container ships that are going through the region, that's becoming a lot more problematic for them as well. So with that, Financial Times is reporting that there's a lot of these companies that are really starting to move away from going through the Red Sea and trying to navigate that, and they're going to go around the southern tip of Africa. So I've talked about this before, that this could add in roughly 2 to 3 weeks worth of extra costs onto the container ships to get to where they need to go from, say, Asia all the way maybe even to Western Europe or even to the Americas. So what that means then is that there's going to be a lot of different ways that this is going to be having a ripple effect around the world. So that's the first thing that we're really starting to see. But the second element is really coming down to the stock market and the new all-time highs. So we are seeing new all-time highs with the S&P 500, and that is something that has been years now in the making to see this new high. Well, that is an incredible sign, but also is something that we can take advantage of with different types of investments that could really potentially go up from here. So that is the dynamics that we're seeing. On the one hand, we're starting to see some areas that could lead to inflation, and on the other hand, we're starting to see some areas that may actually be an incredible place to say, let's put a little more money to work for growth opportunities. So that's really the risks and rewards that we're seeing out there.
Portfolio changes.
In light of all of these changes, there are some elements that we can be doing to take advantage of some of the changes in the shipping sector. We can look into dry goods as well as wet goods, and these are different types of investments that can take advantage of the increase in shipping costs and actually are ones that can be potentially going up in value because of that. Now, there's other elements that we can be looking at as well. Yes, we've talked about healthcare. Yes, we've talked about technology. But what we are looking to do then is take a look at other trends that are out there. Ones that really capitalize on the fact that we are at new time highs with respect to the stock market and how that can actually be beneficial. Now, not everything is at new all-time highs. There's only a select number of sectors. And in fact, when we take a look at energy, when we take a look at other areas of the global financial complex, there's areas that are not doing well whatsoever. And so when we take that into account, we want to try to divest ourselves of areas that are not doing well and increase to the areas that are doing well. So when we take a look at that, that is really going to be the essence of what makes for a good financial plan. Now, what I actually want to do is take you through, in our advanced planning side of things, what we look at here with the investments and how it comes to be part of your own portfolio.
Wealth management and advanced planning.
All right, as I'm showing my screen here, this is really an element as to how we work with the investments in general. And I just want to give you a glimpse into the systems that we built out here over the years at Lions Wealth. Now, what you're really starting to see here are many different elements. And yes, there's a lot of greens and reds. And they all look, well, relatively the same. but they all mean slightly different elements to it. So the top line here, it comes back down to some of the volatility. And when we see an increased amount of volatility in certain asset classes, well, that could actually mean a bad thing. But when we can see some different elements showing up, maybe some reduced volatility, a lowered amount of volatility, but then we scroll down and you can start seeing how some of these elements are starting to turn green here, well, that means that maybe it's actually trending upward. It may be a very good place to be at that point. So when we take a look at that, we can also come back to some of the different elements with, again, another look at volatility. So you're starting to see the greens, the yellows, the reds, the blues, all of those different types of colors. They all mean something when we talk about the price, the volume, and the volatility of, well, just that investment alone, but then we can compare it against all of the others around here. So we can start to see, yes, we are at all-time highs with the stock market itself, but now we're starting to see that volatility is starting to creep back in. Starting to see a lot more reds creeping back in. That's not really the best of the best signs saying now is it really the time to make new investments. Maybe it's time to wait. Or maybe there's going to be other elements here and other investments that are actually going to be better suited for going forward. So that's really how we work with things here. Then we take into account the lead, and the lead stages, like we've mentioned before, there's 1 through 4. We're in stage 4 right now, which is really respecting that we're in a slower inflationary environment as well as a slowing economic environment. Well, when it takes a look at where we're at with respect to the markets, they don't care, because this should be actually a very poor place to be. But if we take a look at some of, maybe you can see here, commodities in some of the structures here, well, commodities right now have been a pretty poor place to be. Maybe that's going to change, but what this shows is that there are some elements of the economy that is doing well and some that aren't. And when we take into account the lead plus what we call the signals here, that's how we can really determine if we should be investing more or less into a certain investment or a certain area class. But knowing we're in lead 4, knowing things could get ugly quickly, this is a good indicator, because it really does show that if we really start to see a lot of red across many different investments, maybe that's a good reason to really reduce the portfolio out of investments and increase the portfolio in other safety type investments a little bit more. So just wanted to give you a snapshot of what we do here in the advanced planning that comes into your portfolio.
Our second opinion service.
As you can tell, there's a lot here. Now, with respect to the investment side, as well as all the other advanced planning, whether it's wealth protection, wealth enhancement, wealth preservation, charitable gifting, business enrichment, or many other elements, we have the plans and the advanced items that we work through to go through to make sure that not only you're taken care of, but your loved ones, your colleagues, your business partners. And that's where I want to share with you the second opinion service. And we also can really go through and use this as what we call a stress test as well, to make sure that the wealth plan that you have in place is going to be viable in case something happens in the future. So what we do is go through where you're at today, where you want to go in the future, and we see if there's any gaps that exist. Now with that, like I said, for maybe your business partner, other colleagues, even family members, we would be happy, I should say, to extend this to them as well as to you, to make sure that you have and they have the best opportunity to work with their wealth plan and closing any gaps that exist to potentially put them in a better place in the future. So with that, let us know if you have any desires, wishes, dreams that we should be capturing as part of your overall wealth plan, so that we can make sure that you're taken care of as well. With that, take care.